Welcome back to the Comedy Crypt. This is our 7th episode of the Comedy Crypt, and we have another guest, Miss Pitt. She is, I believe, the only teacher in the field of video journalism / broadcasting. I could be wrong. She has her own travel blog called the Pitt Stops, and that's all I got, I'm sorry. So let's just jump right into it with our first question of this episode. Could you describe your experiences working with Fox News? That's what I forgot to introduce. She is a partner with Fox News.
So it's not Fox News, it's Fox 61 Student News. So that's actually a local network for Connecticut news. So basically what we do is my kids in the broadcast journalism program, they create videos that air on Fox 61 Student News or Fox 61 News, and they call it the Student News segment for all of the different videos that get put on. And so far, I think this year there's been 14 videos that have played from
14.
our school, which is more than any other school so far.
Wow. 14 videos.
Yeah.
What was the span of time that they were made over?
That the videos were made over, each individual one?
Yeah.
So it takes about 3 months to put together a video, 2 to 3 months to put together a video.
2 to 3 months?
Yeah, 2 to 3 months.
Only takes us half an hour, so I think we got them beat there. Anyways, I think that perfectly wraps up our first question of this week's The Comedy Crypt, which brings us to our very first segment of this episode, which is a fan favorite, which number is bigger? All right, so for those of you who don't know, which number is bigger is a segment where I give 2 impossibly large numbers and the guest has to guess which one is bigger.
Oh, okay. I'll try.
All right, so our first fight, Hyper Growl Gathor Quad versus God Gathor Truce.
That's a number?
Yeah, these are Googleisms, by the way.
Repeat the question.
Which number is bigger? Hyper Growl Gathor Quad versus God Gathor Truce.
The first one.
You got it.
Woo!
Yep. Next one, Berlin Wall versus Great Wall.
Great Wall.
You got it. Just so you know, the people naming these aren't exactly very serious about it. Even though they are numbers, for those of you who are asking.
The Berlin Wall is actually a number?
Yeah. So our next fight is Sextaque Tetraduliath versus Googleplex.
Googleplex.
Yes, Googleplex.
I got it right?
Oh, no, I thought you were confirming. It's actually Sextaque Tetraduliath. So that's our first loss of this evening.
Sorry.
Next is Huge Quaxel versus Colossagog.
Colossagog.
Yeah,
Yeah, duh.
it's Colossagog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Our next fight, Horrendous Gods Godulus versus Big Hoss.
Horrendous Gogulus.
Sorry, it's Big Hoss.
Okay.
And our final fight, Bigfoot, in all caps, versus Sasquatch.
Aren't they the same thing?
No. These are numbers, by the way, for those of you who don't understand.
I'm gonna go with Sasquatch.
Heck yeah, that is the largest known Googleism so far.
So I got most of them right.
Yeah. We just got to the uncomputable level.
Uncomputable.
Yeah, these are big. Anyways, I think that wraps up our first segment on this week's The Comedy Crypt, which brings us beautifully into our next question. Why did you decide to create the Pitt Stops?
It was actually by accident. My husband has a television show called The Mountain Report, which is on NBC Sports, and he's the host of that. And we happened to be going to the German Alps to go skiing, and his boss was like, hey, get some video footage to put on the show. So we were like, all right. So we went and, I collected a bunch of video footage and I just threw together a segment and I sent it to him and he goes, this is really good. Why don't you guys just start your own travel blog? And I was like, okay. So ever since then, I now get to travel for free.
You get to travel for free.
Put together
What are some of the
videos
locales that you've visited?
I've been to Belfast, Northern Ireland. I've been to, obviously, the German Alps. I've been to the Swiss Alps, like the Matterhorn and Zermatt, and I got to ski Zermatt. Chamonix Mont Blanc, which is it's the tallest peak in all of the Alps. It's like 16,000 feet.
Wow.
I got to go there. I got to go to Beaune, France, which is Burgundy, where they make all the wine. I got to go to Paris. I got to go to Strasbourg, which is where they have that really famous Christmas market. And then I get to travel a lot in the US too.
Well, I've been around. I went to South Carolina once. So
That's nice.
I think we're evenly matched in travel experiences. So we're going to end our first question right there, which brings us almost perfectly into our third segment. It's not actually our third segment. I tricked you. Have to make sure you're paying attention. It's our second segment. Pay attention next time. Tarot card reading. This one's making a comeback. We're going to be going with our regular old standard 6-card spread where the first card represents the past.
Okay.
The second card represents your present. The third card represents your future. The fourth card represents your strength. The fifth card represents your weakness. And the sixth card represents the most likely outcome of all of this. So first I have our Major Arcana tarot card deck right here. I'm going to shuffle it so that I'm not pulling a fast one on my guest. And after a bit of shuffling done poorly, we will arrive at our destination, which is the pool of fate has been decided. Now, it needs to be chosen by the guest.
What happens if the outcome's bad?
I don't care.
Oh,
What
thanks,
happens?
Kyle.
Hey, what? Do you think I'm God? I don't decide this.
You should care.
So, before you
Okay.
pick a card, you need to pick the cards that spiritually call out to you.
Okay. Just one?
6.
6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Not happy with that.
Why? What did I do wrong? How can you pick cards wrong?
You picked 5 at a time.
But you asked me to pick the ones that spiritually
have a bit
connect
more-
with me,
has
and
to
they were
be-
screaming,
there's
Mrs.
got-
Pitt, pick me.
There's got to be a bit more flair. Come on. All right, anyways, let's just get into the reading already. So, your first card, which is your past, is the Chariot. Bang.
What does that mean?
I'm about to tell you. So, the Chariot represents victory against all odds.
That was my past?
All right. I need
stinks.
to. What? Victory against all
That stinks.
odds.
It's my past. It should be my future.
I don't decide this. So, what this could mean is that in the past you were doing very well for yourself. It seemed that you were on a roll, and it could still continue throughout. It
Okay,
depends
that's
on what
good.
the present and future is. Yeah, that's the Chariot. We're not doing reverses because those muck it up even more. But anyways, let's get to the second card, which is her present, which is the Emperor. So, the
That's
Emperor
right.
represents a true leader and someone who takes action. It is mainly telling us to seize the chance while we still can and take control of our lives. So, I think that represents your past pretty well. You're
Present.
You're present, I'm sorry. You're present very well. You're a teacher. You lead people towards Fox 61 Student News. You are training the next generation of journalists, and I think that's pretty admirable. Which brings us into the future, the star. So the star represents inspiration and hope. So my interpretation is that you have a lot of hope for your future. Whether that hope is achieved, I don't know. It tells us that our optimism will guide us towards fortune. So I think having hope for the future is gonna work out for you. Which brings us to our strength, or not our strength, her strength, which is the Hierophant bat. So, essentially, the Hierophant is a card that represents tradition and ritualistic practices, which in essence means you stick to a routine. And that routine, it goes well for you. So I think maybe your routine could just be teaching classes every day, that's also admirable. And it also represents being part of a group, and you are obviously a part of video journalists.
Yeah.
And here it is. Now for the weakness. This is going worse than I thought. The tower. So the tower.
They're falling out of the tower and they're burning.
Okay, well, the illustration has nothing to do with the card's meaning. So, the tower, it represents dramatic and sudden change. So, since it's a weakness, I think there's a huge change in either how something operates or something entering your life or something like that that caused a big change in how you conduct yourself. Yeah. I can't think of anything else to say. These are pretty bland this time. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Anyways, the final card, the most likely outcome of this endeavor is the Lovers, which is a card that represents mainly it represents a decision and ignoring any temptations or things that could stray you off your path. It also represents a strength in relationships, and that could mean you have a lot of connections in the industry or some other stuff. But mainly, you've made your decision on what you want to do, and then you're going to follow through no matter what anybody says. So I think this is a pretty okay spread.
Yeah, I think that this is pretty optimistic.
Yeah.
You know, my future is I'm going to be a star.
Well,
And
your future is represented by the star.
I'm going to be a star. And I have good connections and good relationships. I mean, could you ask for more?
Nope.
Yeah.
Anyways, that wraps up our second very special segment of this week of the Comedy Crypt. Tarot card reading. Can't really give you folks at home a tarot card reading, but you could show up. Anyways, that brings us to our third question of this week of the Comedy Crypt. What is your favorite part about video journalism / broadcasting?
My favorite part? Making stories.
Making stories?
Yeah, definitely making stories. Fictional or nonfiction. Both of them. I love
Well,
both.
for nonfiction, you don't really make the story.
No, you find the story, and you have to create the story. You have to come up with the angle, and you've got to tell the story from your perspective.
That's your favorite part.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the editing too. The editing's fun.
I don't. Because I have to edit all these shows, and it's not fun. Takes a while. But I'm dedicated to you folks at home who are watching. So, could you elaborate any more? What do you think the most popular part of video journalism is?
I think probably the most popular part of video journalism is actually, you know, the people behind the camera, the people capturing the stories. People really love to do that part. Not everybody likes to be the editor. People like to, you know, boots to the ground, get out there, go to these really cool destinations and events, and yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that wraps up our third question on this week of the Comedy Crypt. Maybe you guys could answer down below. I'm not telling you to, though, because I got no jurisdiction there, but try it out. So that brings us to our third and final segment of this week on the Comedy Crypt with Miss Pitt. So, This one, I think it's going to be a very emotional comeback for this segment. It's only been featured once so far. It was featured on the very first show of the Comedy Crypt. It took a lot of planning, took a lot of preparation to bring it back, but I am proud to announce that this is the official comeback of True or False, guys. Let's go.
Oh, gosh.
Wait, it's not the response I wanted to get.
Woo!
You know, a lot of court cases, a lot of legal discussion, but we've brought it back.
Okay.
So let's just jump right into it. Our first true or false question. Also, brief rundown. You have to answer either true or false for the question.
Okay.
It's in the name. So, we have found multiple planets that are very suitable to life in the universe. Is it true or false?
True.
We got it.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. So, our next one. There are certain portions of space that are expanding faster than light.
True.
It is.
I'm a star.
Our next true or false question. UPS trucks are brown to prevent the trucks from looking dirty.
False.
False. Sorry, it's true.
What? Really?
Yeah, they I don't get it.
It just makes them permanently look dirty.
It's kind of like why, way back in Britain, the redcoats had red coats so that it would hide blood. I think.
Really?
Wait, no, their pants were brown to hide.
Yeah, I thought it was red coat because red was part of their flag.
Okay, all right, this is a train wreck so far. Let's just clear the slate onto our next one. The Earth is not a perfect sphere, but a bit ovular.
Ovular?
It looks similar to an oval.
False. It's a perfect sphere.
It is not. I'm sorry to break it to you, but
50-50 right now. That's not good.
yeah. That brings us to our next part. There is a camera with such a high frame rate that it can film the speed of light.
True.
Yes. It's pretty recent. 13 trillion frames per second. I don't even know how they do it. Our
Is
next,
that the one that they used to film the black hole recently?
No. That was a whole bunch of telescopes. The Event Horizon Project, as they call it. Our next part. The ladder was invented before the wheel.
False.
I'm sorry, it's true. When I learned this, I was quite angry. Because,
Why?
like when you're growing up, it's like the first invention was the wheel, even though it's not.
No. Yeah.
It's like you think like the wheel is like the
I
first
thought
thing that we
I would
made.
have thought that the ladder would have definitely been first, but I thought that's why it was like a trick question or something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm losing.
Our next part. Blue is the rarest color in nature.
False.
It's true.
I thought it would have been purple.
I don't know, like
'Cause that's like the color of royalty, so all the royals wore purple because it was the hardest color to get.
Okay. Well, like they're basically, blue is very rare because to get a blue pigment, there's no blue.
And the sky is blue.
There's no blue pigment.
But the
Well,
sky is blue. How could that be the most rare when like half of the
oh,
world
that's
is
an- that's an
blue? It's
excep-
nature.
That's an exception. Okay.
I would argue that that's nature.
Well, of course it is nature. I'm talking about flora and fauna. Okay.
Well, you didn't specify that initially. Then I wouldn't have said it.
All
I
right,
would have
geez.
said something
This is
different.
just a repeat of last time. That's why I killed the damn segment first time.
Arguments?
But
Okay.
I am dedicated to my fans, and the fans have spoken that they like true or false. So that brings us to our next part.
Okay.
So, oh wait, that's actually the end of it.
Oh,
Yeah, I did a little flippy floppy little trick. All the questions were true, except I'm doubting the last one now because of your
my
argument points.
valid argument, yeah.
I should have specified it more.
Yeah.
The reason why blue is super rare in flora and fauna is because a blue pigment, it like basically doesn't exist, or it's like super hard to come by. So most things that are blue have like special hairs that are positioned in such a way to refract light to be blue. That's why it's rare. Anyways, that
Interesting.
wraps up the return of True or False. Did not go as well as I planned. Which brings us to our fourth and final segment. It's not segment. Tricked you again. Haha, it's the question. Why should schools care about the video broadcasting field?
Why should schools care?
Yeah.
I think schools should care because A, it's teaching kids how to write, but in a much more fun and engaging way. Anybody that creates a movie, or whether it's fictional or nonfiction, they have to write the story behind it and develop the story, and it involves a lot of writing. And yet it's just more fun. Like, kids don't even realize that they're writing. And also it's higher level learnings. It's like writing an essay but on steroids, because you've got different levels to it. You know, the bottom level is, you know, you've created the script, but then you have to add all the pictures on top.
Yeah, it's got a lot of levels, because in English you would just be writing, and then
Yeah.
you have to think of the pictures. In art, you have to draw it, but then there's no story. And in sound design, you just have to make the music,
Yeah.
which is pretty fun. But when you put all those together, you get
Multiple layers.
modern entertainment.
Yeah.
You get the motion picture. Not that specifically, but. So why should students care about this then?
They should care because it's a really emerging field right now. There's a lot of jobs out there for people that are movie editors, video editors. Think about it. Like, what's one of the most popular things online right now? When you go online, what is the #2 search engine in the world? It's YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's
No,
all video.
It should be a search engine because it is a video sharing platform.
But it is a
So
search engine.
if you're looking up a question on YouTube, even though YouTube is owned by Google, which is a superior search engine, because you can actually
Google's number
You
one.
can actually get the information that you want that isn't trapped in a 10-minute video that people make just to get ad revenue.
You're angry.
Sorry,
Yeah, it's all right.
it's a sensitive topic for me.
Got it.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on. Not the YouTube thing, but
I was about to say, are you
your,
sure?
your spiel on video broadcasting. It is very important. It's the next book.
It's the next
essentially.
market. It's what marketing has become. Video marketing.
Yeah, it's the next big thing. It's like oil, except in digital form. But sadly, that wraps up our show. I'll see you guys next time on the Comedy Crypt.